Here are the most surprising things I've learned about the end of life. The point of this video is to bring you comfort and education about end of life. When I was a new hospice nurse, these things even surprised me. Number one, our unconscious loved ones who are dying, when they are unconscious and not responding to us. We do believe they can hear us. There have been studies done where people were dying and they had EEGs on their brain, which showed that the hearing sensor of the brain was the last to shut down. What does this mean? This means talk to your loved one like they're there, like they could respond back even if they're not. Say the things you need and want to say. Don't talk about your loved one like they aren't there. If you are in the room with your loved one dying, please be respectful to them and don't argue. Don't talk about them like they're not there. If someone starts to, you could address and say, oh, please speak to them, or take them out of the room and say, hey, listen, we're not going to talk about this person like they're not here, because we do believe they can hear you. So as a hospice nurse, I always try to speak to the patient who is the one who's unconscious like they could answer me back. And I'll talk to the loved ones around the bedside like the person is still there, because studies have shown that they could or have the ability to still hear. When I was working in the ICU, people who were in comas in the ICU, either medically induced or they were in comas, when they would come back out of the coma, they would tell us that they could hear certain things, they could sense people in the room, they knew somewhat what was going on. We do think that is the same for the dying person. So really, at the end of life, it's just about being present. It's about creating an atmosphere and an environment that's comforting to them. The second most surprising thing was the different deathbed phenomena. I know I talk about this all the time, but it's mind-blowing. It was mind-blowing to me as a new hospice nurse. It still is mind-blowing to me when I see it now, 8 years later. The deathbed phenomena that happens at the end of life, like the deathbed visioning, the surge of energy or the rally, people choosing when they're going to die, waiting for people to come into the room, waiting for everyone to leave. Those things, when I first started witnessing those as a new hospice nurse, it was unbelievable. I couldn't believe it. As an ICU nurse, if someone were to have told me that, I wouldn't have believed it. Then coming on as a new hospice nurse, seeing it with my own eyes, it was shocking and it was comforting, and it still is, hence why I always educate about it. It's something that happens so often, I feel like it's important for me as a hospice nurse to educate the general public that these are things that actually happen. We don't know why, but they do. And number three, dehydration, helping people have a more peaceful death. I will educate about this until the cows come home, because people need to understand that dehydration at the end of life will help you die more peaceful. Why? Because a dying body cannot handle the hydration that like a living well body can. So if we try to hydrate a dying body at the end of life, they'll become fluid overloaded because the body can't handle the fluid. The heart can't pump the fluid like it should. It won't stay intravascular in the person's veins or arteries. It'll seep out and cause swelling, and then eventually cause respiratory distress. So the more I saw that as a new hospice nurse, the more I was amazed about how our bodies really help us die. Our bodies will start helping us be more dehydrated, because the body knows that the more dehydrated you are, the better you're going to feel. You're going to go into ketosis and your body will release endorphins that actually will give you a euphoric feeling and help start dulling pain and make you actually feel good. That is what I've witnessed as a hospice nurse that I would not have believed as an ICU nurse. There are a lot of unknowns about the end of life, which I think is what makes people feel afraid. But the more I've been around people at the end of their life, the less and less I become afraid, because I've seen with my own eyes the way our body helps us prepare for that, and the different things that are comforting to us that happen at the end of life. Some of those things we know why, some of those things we don't know why. But all I know is witnessing death somewhat on a regular basis has made me actually fear it less, which is why I bring this information to you. So hopefully this will also decrease your fear.